let's keep moving. I feel like we're being watched. No, but there's no way she would have left it in Tamriel. She wanted to get it as far away from my father as possible. I can't imagine a better place. Then we find out where she hid it, if she's still alive. Well, as alive as she was before. Or is now, or... you know what I mean. Probably to avoid whatever my father would do to her if he could get his hands on her. Or maybe her plan was to come back, but she was stuck here. We won't know until we find her. Just what my mother told me. I've also studied a little bit on my own, but there's not much. When something is trapped in a soul gem, and then the energy is used for powering an enchantment, the remnants are sent here. Well, I think it's specifically the black ones. I don't know if the soul cairn takes just any leftovers. Look at this place. Do you think anything would want to live here? The only things that can survive here are the ideal masters, the undead, and the souls themselves. Well, if you want to call that living. I don't think anyone's ever met the ideal masters. I'm not even sure anyone knows what they look like. They could be underground, flying above us. They might be the ground, I have no idea. Lots of theories. Some say they feed on them like I feed on blood. Others think they use them as payment to an even higher power, almost like a currency. A very strange currency. Whatever they're doing with them, they've been harvesting for millennia. No telling how many souls are trapped here. Look around you. There are some extremely powerful undead here. Even a necromancer as seasoned as my mother would be willing to spend years trying to gain access to them. Exactly. It's a lost art. Most necromancers just raise up whatever bodies are nearby. A simple trick, really. Child's play. But bringing something from the soul cairn gives you something much more powerful. That's usually the trick. It's possible to do it through a simple portal. But to finalize the deal, you have to travel here yourself. And most of them never come back.
There's no escape.
Leave me be.
Where'd you come from? I'd heard stories about the soul cairn, but never thought I'd see it myself. So far, it's about what I imagined.
You must help me find my Arvak. He doesn't deserve to be in a place like this. Arvak, my horse. We came to this horrible place together. We were attacked by monsters, so I told him to run. Please, he's such a loyal creature, and he's been running for so long. You have to save him. A place like this will change you. Arvak? Arvak! Where are you? Arvak, please come back! Come back! There's no escape.
Well, look what we have here. Someone with flesh on their bones. Let's just say I sold something to a guy who turned out to work for a whole coven of necromancers. How in the name of Zenithar was I to know the ingredients were phony? Do I look like someone that would double-cross a necromancer? You got it. Horse, wagon, and all. Plopped here without so much as a word. I used to be one of the best traders in High Rock, you know. How people would track me down just to see what I had for sale. Very funny. And what exactly are you going to pay me with? Take a look around. Gold doesn't exactly win you any friends around here. I'll tell you what. I appreciate what you're trying to do, so I'll play along. The only thing I see around here in abundance are soul husks. You know, those ugly fungus-looking things growing out of the ground. Bring me, say, 25 of them, and you can rummage through what was left on my cart. Odds and ends I've gathered over the years. Well, used to gather, before all of this nonsense happened to me. Tell me what you're looking for, and maybe we can make a deal, if you have the husks. No husks, no sale. Guess you have some scavenging to do.
I've heard stories about the Soul Cairn, but never thought I'd see it myself. So far, it's about what I... Look at the sky. What kind of place is this? The air, the ground... This is all wrong. Mother? Mother!
Maker. It can't be. Serana?
Is it really you? I can't believe it. How do we get inside? We have to talk.
Serana, what are you doing here? Where's your father?
He doesn't know we're here. I don't have time to explain.
I must have failed. Harkon's found a way to decipher the prophecy, hasn't he?
No, you've got it all wrong. We're here to complete the prophecy our way, not his.
Wait a moment. You've brought a stranger here? Have you lost your mind?
No, you don't...
You, come forward. I would speak with you. So how has it come to pass that a vampire of mixed blood is in the company of my daughter? I find your choice of words quite interesting, considering that Serana is in far more danger now than she was following my foolish plan. Serana has sacrificed everything to prevent Harkon from completing the prophecy. I would have expected her to explain that to you. You think I'd have the audacity to place my own daughter in that tomb for the protection of her Elder Scroll alone? The scrolls are merely a means to an end. The key to the tyranny of the sun is Serana herself. When I fled Castle Volkihar, I fled with 2 Elder Scrolls. The scroll I presume you found with Serana speaks of Ariel and his arcane weapon, Ariel's bow. The second scroll declares that the blood of Cold Harbor's daughter will blind the eye of the dragon. Like myself, Serana was a human once. We were devout followers of Lord Molig Bal. Tradition dictates the females be offered to Molig Bal on his summoning day. Few survive the ordeal. Those that do emerge as a pure-blooded vampire. We call such confluences the Daughters of Cold Harbor. It's what some call the domain of Molig Bal. His place in oblivion. Now you're beginning to see why I wanted to protect Serana, and why I've kept the other Elder Scroll as far from her as possible. If Harkon obtained Ariel's bow, and Serana's blood was used to taint the weapon, the tyranny of the sun would be complete. In his eyes, she'd be dying for the good of all vampires. And how exactly do you plan on completing the prophecy without the death of my daughter? If you believe that, then you're a bigger fool than I originally suspected. Don't you think I weighed that option before I enacted my plans? You care nothing for Serana, or our plight. You see the tyranny of the sun as your chance at deification. And like Harkon, you won't hesitate to destroy anything that stands in your path. Serana? This stranger may call himself a vampire, but he knows nothing of our struggle. Why should I entrust you to him?
This stranger has done more for me in the brief time I've known him than you've done in centuries.
How dare you? I gave up everything I cared about to protect you from that fanatic you call a father.
Yes, he's a fanatic. He's changed. But he's still my father. Why can't you understand how that makes me feel?
Oh, Serana, if you'd only open your eyes. The moment your father discovers your role in the prophecy, that he needs your blood, you'll be in terrible danger.
So to protect me, you decided to shut me away from everything I cared about. You never asked me if hiding me in that tomb was the best course of action. You just expected me to follow you blindly. Both of you were obsessed with your own paths. Your motivations might have been different, but in the end, I'm still just a pawn to you two. I want us to be a family again. But I don't know if we can ever have that. Maybe we don't deserve that kind of happiness. Maybe it isn't for us. But we have to stop him, before he goes too far. And to do that, we need the Elder Scroll.
I'm sorry, Serana. I didn't know. I didn't see. I've allowed my hatred of your father to estrange us for too long. Forgive me. If you want the Elder Scroll, it's yours. Your intentions are still somewhat unclear to me, but for Serana's sake, I'll assist you in any way that I can. Yes, I've kept it safely secured here ever since I was imprisoned. Fortunately, you're in a position to breach the barrier that surrounds these ruins. You need to locate the tallest of the rocky spires that surround these ruins. At their bases, the barrier's energy is being drawn from unfortunate souls that have been exiled here. Destroy the keepers that are tending them, and it should bring the barrier down. One more word of warning. There's a dragon that calls itself Durnehviir roaming the cairn. Be wary of him. The Ideal Masters have charged him with overseeing the Keepers, and will undoubtedly intervene if you're perceived as a threat. As you've been traveling in the Soul Cairn, your body has become attuned to it. Let's just say a tiny part of you rubbed off on it, and in its place, a bit of the Soul Cairn filled the void. You should find no difficulty using the portal any longer. When I entered the Soul Cairn, I had intended to strike a bargain with the Ideal Masters, the custodians of this place. I requested refuge in the Soul Cairn, and in exchange, I would provide the Ideal Masters the souls that they craved. If I had foreseen the value they placed on my own soul, I would never have come here. The Ideal Masters unleashed their Keepers, and sent them to destroy me. Fortunately, I was able to hold them at bay and retreat into these ruins. Unfortunately, yes. Since the Keepers weren't able to claim my soul, they had their minions construct a barrier that I'd never be able to breach. Time has very little meaning to me. Consequently, it has little meaning to the Ideal Masters as well. I suppose you could call this the ultimate waiting game, each watching the other to see which will give in. Harkon's vision is a world plunged in eternal darkness, where the vampire can flourish, and never again fear the tyranny of the sun. What he fails to realize is how much attention would be called to our kind if the prophecy came to fruition. If eternal night fell, there are many who wouldn't stand for it. They would raise armies in attempts to return things to normal. The order of the day would be our destruction, until every last vampire was hunted down and eliminated. I do. It's how the vampire has survived for millennia, and the only way we can continue to survive in the future. I know very little about them. They're mystic entities that lord over the Soul Cairn, controlling every aspect from its fabric to its appearance. Well, some necromancers believe they are the crystalline structures dotting the Soul Cairn. I believe there's more to it than that. I think they transcend what we perceive as a physical form. Perhaps they were once corporeal beings, but they've obviously reached a point where they no longer require a tangible presence. Conduits, through which the Ideal Masters speak to their underlings and feed on their victims. The Ideal Masters' weakness is their insatiable hunger for pure souls. It's the reason for the Soul Cairn's existence, and the only leverage a necromancer has when bargaining with them. The ability to summon powerful undead guardians, as one would conjure an Atronak or Daedra. However, the majority of necromancers that are foolish enough to enter into a bargain with the Ideal Masters wind up here as harvested souls. Be careful, and keep my daughter safe.
Let's kill those Keeper things and get back to the prison. I can't believe we found my mother alive. Well, you know. Relieved, I think. All those things have been building for a while. You have no idea how long I wanted to say that to her. Look, I loved my father, but when he found that prophecy, that became his life. Everything else, even me and my mother, we just became clutter. I was close with my mother, but she just kept feeding me her opinions of him, and eventually I started believing them. Like I said, we were never very close. Not a lot of father-daughter bonding, if you know what I mean. But once we threw our lot in with Molag Bal, people just don't think about their families anymore. Power takes precedence, he always said. I was. Honestly, it took me up until now to figure out that my mother was really just as bad as he was. He was obsessed with power. She was obsessed with seeing him fail. It was just so toxic. Maybe I could have seen this coming. We could all be better off now. I know that in my head, but I just can't help feeling bad about the way things are. Sorry, I know you're trying to help. Thanks. Anyway, we should keep moving. I can't believe we found my mother alive. Well, you know what I mean.
What? Nakast!
Who's there?
is free, I can feel it. He's such a loyal beast. Here, I'll teach you how to call him to you. He'll help you get around this wretched place. But I'm sure he'd be much happier someplace sunnier. Goodbye, hero. Take good care of Arvak for me. Such a good horse.
There. I knew I heard something. Right there. Who's there? I knew I heard something.
anyone expect me to write my opus with all of these rude interruptions? What do I mean, indeed? If I hadn't lost all the pages, I wouldn't be in this predicament, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. Riddance. How does anyone what do I... If I hadn't lost all of the pages? Very well. I suppose a moment or two of my time couldn't hurt. I am Jiub. Some call me Saint Jiub. Others call me Jiub the Eradicator. Perhaps you've heard of me. I can't say that I'm surprised by your answer. Until I get my second volume published, no one will ever know of my achievements. A book? I'd hardly call a 26-volume epic simply a book. Surely you've heard of the rise and fall of Saint Jiub the Eradicator, hero of Morrowind and savior of the Durnehviir. Maybe you should leave the writing to an expert. Stop making foolish suggestions. Terrible. Simply terrible. I was in the midst of writing the second volume, and they just threw me into this prison. It's unfair. So what? What in the name of the Vic are you talking about? All I remember is that damn Durnehviir and his minions bursting into my home and sending me to their prison. Well, I assume so. It cast a spell at me from some kind of strange black crystal. Next thing I knew, I arrived here. My what? Wait. That means... No. All these wasted months? Or has it been years? I don't even remember how much time has passed. No, my work will never see the light of day. My name will be forgotten. Perhaps. Do you have a way out of here? Maybe I can't, but my writings can. In order to write the second volume of my opus, I need the notes from my first volume. Otherwise, I need to do more of this from memory. When I was tossed in here, I felt myself falling, and I dropped the pages I had been holding. There were 10 of them in all. Find them for me, please. I beg you. Ah, yes. Say Jiub the Eradicator, Jiub the Magnificent. I've earned a lot of those titles thanks to my campaign against the Winged Menace. Yes, I'm speaking of the Cliff Racer, of course. Wretched things. They used to crisscross the skies over Morrowind like vermin. Nasty flying creatures with a habit of sneaking upon the unwary. After I was freed from prison, I decided to turn my life around. Give something back to the people of Morrowind. It became quickly apparent that the best way I could help would be by wiping out the cliff racers. Indeed I was. I hunted down and killed every last one of them. Took years. The people of Morrowind were so grateful to have the roads safer again, they took to calling me St. Jiub, and then the other names followed. That was a dark time in my life. I did a lot of things I ended up regretting. Maybe that's why I worked so hard to redeem myself once I was freed. I murdered others for money. And before you think I belong to some romantic or secretive guild, think again. I was simply an addict who needed money for skooma. The stuff wasn't cheap, and murder always seemed to be in demand. I finally bit off more than I could chew. I was paid to assassinate some high-ranking official from House Rhetoric. What I didn't know is someone had hired the Morag Tong to kill him as well. Exactly. He got to my target first and called the guard to cover his tracks. By the time I got there, the place was on alert. Walked right into a trap and didn't even realize it until I was captured. They tried me for murder, threw me on a prison ship, and sent me to the jail in Vivek City. Gave me a lot of time to think, that's for sure. Well, that's a ridiculous question. Everyone traveling through here has said that the Oblivion Gates have been opening all over Tamriel. Has it been that long? Oh my. Well, it started with the followers of Mehrunes Dagon having Emperor Uriel Septim VII assassinated. Without a Septim on the throne of the Empire, Dagon was able to leave Oblivion through the gates and attack. All I heard is that without a Septim sitting on the throne of the Empire, the dragon fires in a place called the Temple of the One were no longer lit. This meant that we were vulnerable to the forces of Oblivion. Well, I don't know. Everything seemed fine until that Dremora attacked me. I only heard later about the gates from the other souls. I can only assume the gates have been closed by now. I had just moved from my ancestral home in Morrowind to the continent of Cyrodiil. I settled in the city of Kavach to write my memoirs and to find some peace and quiet. Indeed, one moment I was writing diligently, and the next, my door bursts open. It was a cadre of Dremora. The city was under attack. I took it upon myself to join the cause and fight the Dremora, thinking this would simply be another feather in my cap. The reason I'm standing in front of you as only a whisper of my former self should tell you that. I never knew what became of Kavach. I wonder if they were triumphant without me. Finally! I never thought I'd see these again. These pages meant the world to me. Thank you. Now, Volume 2 begins. What else? Oh, wait a moment. Here, I want you to have these before you go. A pristine copy of my first volume. Only one in print, actually. And take this as well. Seeing as St. Jiub has ascended to pure spiritual form, I won't need it any longer. Come to visit this lost soul again. Now that the first volume's complete, there's not much left to do but begin work on the second. There are plenty of other adventures I've had over the years, but you'll just have to read my next work to find out. Considering the state I'm in, I'd say that option vanished a long time ago. Besides, this isn't so bad when you think about it. This is the most peace and quiet I've had in a lifetime. There's no one around to disturb me and distract me from my writing. Present company accepted, of course. When you get back to Tamriel, let them know I still exist.
The barrier should be gone. Let's head back.
Come to visit this lost soul.
What? Nakast!
You managed to destroy all 3 keepers? Very impressive. Yes. Please follow me. Keep watch for Durnehviir. With the prison's barrier down, he's almost certain to investigate. Forgive my astonishment, but I never thought I'd witness the death of that dragon. Volumes written on Durnehviir allege that he can't be slain by normal means. It appears they were mistaken. Unless... the soul of a dragon is as resilient as its owner's scaly hide. It's possible that your killing blow has merely displaced Durnehviir's physical form while he reconstitutes himself. Minutes, hours, years. I can't even begin to guess. I suggest we don't go around to find out. Now, let's get you the Elder Scroll, and you can be on your way.
Come on. She's leading us to the scroll. I'm glad you're here. I don't think I could be doing this alone.
Now that you've retrieved the Elder Scroll, you should be on your way.
I can't believe we found my mother alive.
I have no choice. As I told you before, I'm a daughter of Cold Heart. If I return to Tamriel, that increases Harkon's likelihood of bringing the tyranny of the sun to fruition. I appreciate your concern for me, but Serana is all that I care about. You must keep her safe at all costs. Remember that Harkon is not to be trusted. No matter what he promises, he'll deceive you in order to get what he wants. And promise me you'll keep my daughter safe. She's the only thing of value I have left.
The sooner we get the scroll home, the sooner we deal with my father. Come on, let's go home.
Stay your weapons. I would speak with you, Quinarin. Cursed, not dead. Doomed to exist in this form for eternity. Trapped between Laas and Enoch. Between life and death. The hostility was necessary. I was bound to an oath. I believe in civility among seasoned warriors, and I find your ear worthy of my words. My claws have rended the flesh of innumerable foes, but I have never once been felled on the field of battle. I therefore honor name you Quinarin, or Vanquisher in your tongue. Your words do me great honor. My desire to speak with you was born from the result of our battle, Quinarin. I merely wish to respectfully ask a favor of you. For countless years I've roamed the Soul Cairn in unintended service to the Ideal Masters. Before this, I roamed the skies above Tamriel. I desire to return there. I fear that my time here has taken its toll upon me. I share a bond with this dreaded place. If I ventured far from the Soul Cairn, my strength would begin to wane until I was no more. I will place my name with you, and grant you the right to call my name from Tamriel. Do me this simple honor, and I will fight at your side as your Graze Mazen, your ally, and teach you my Thum. Trivial in your mind, perhaps. For me, it would mean a great deal. I don't require an answer, Quinarin. Simply speak my name to the heavens when you feel the time is right. There was a time when I called Tamriel my home, but those days have long since passed. The Dova roamed the skies, vying for their small slices of territory that resulted in immense and ultimately fatal battles. I was, but unlike some of my brethren, I sought solutions outside the norm in order to maintain my superiority. I began to explore what the Dova call Elok Gillan, the ancient forbidden art that you call necromancy. The Ideal Masters assured me that my powers would be unmatched, that I could raise legions of the undead. In return, I was to serve them as a keeper until the death of the one who calls herself Valerica. I discovered too late that the Ideal Masters favor deception over honor, and had no intention of releasing me from my binding. They had control of my mind, but fortunately they couldn't possess my soul. Free? No. I have been here too long, Quinarin. The Soul Cairn has become a part of what I am. I can never fully call Tamriel my home again, or I would surely perish. I only hope that you will allow me the precious moments of time there, through your call. In my language, the Quinarin is the vanquisher, the one who has bested a fellow Dova in battle. Even in the Soul Cairn, the defeat of the World Eater has reached my ears, Dovahkiin. You may not be Dova, but the defeat of Alduin earns you the right of title.
Brought some soul husks? Or are you wasting my time? I might just be a soul now, but I'm still not going to give my stuff away. Bring me at least 25 husks, and then we'll talk. want some sleep? Of course I do. What do you want? Sure, here you go. Can't understand a word of it. Maybe it will do you some good.
I wish she could come with us. Yes? I figured it would be more of an issue for you. No, it's probably not. I mean, what do you think my father will do when we bring him the bow? Of course he will. But at that point, he'll have everything he's ever wanted. He won't need either of us anymore. You'll have shown yourself to be strong, which means you can't be allowed to just stick around. And I'll be unnecessary once he has it. Not until we have the bow, but you're right. This won't be easy, but we can handle it.